Not all workplace injuries are sudden. Some of the most disabling injuries develop gradually through repetitive strain, and excessive overtime accelerates this damage by eliminating the recovery time that tissues need to repair. Let me explain the mechanisms. Repetitive motion disorders like carpal tunnel syndrome and tendinitis develop when you perform the same movement thousands of times. Each repetition causes microscopic tissue damage. Normally, your body repairs this damage during rest periods. But when overtime eliminates adequate rest, the damage accumulates faster than repair can occur. Postural stress from prolonged standing or sitting causes similar cumulative damage to joints and connective tissue. Your body has a certain loading capacity, exceed it consistently, and permanent damage results. Overtime dramatically accelerates these injuries. The difference between working 8 hours and 12 hours isn't just 4 more hours of work, it's 4 hours when your tissues are already fatigued and more vulnerable to damage, plus reduced recovery time before the next shift. The exponential nature of cumulative trauma means that moderate hours might be sustainable indefinitely, while excessive hours guarantee eventual disability. Here's where it gets particularly unjust: compensation challenges. Employers routinely deny gradual injuries, claiming they're not work-related. "You must have injured your wrist doing something at home" becomes the default response, despite the injury being directly caused by performing the same work motion thousands of times daily. Proving causation for gradual injuries is harder than for acute accidents, even though the injury is just as work-related. Preventive strategies exist, and they work. Proper ergonomics, adjusting workstation height, tool design, and body mechanics reduces stress on vulnerable tissues. Scheduled microbreaks allow tissue recovery before damage accumulates. Strength and flexibility exercises protect vulnerable tissues by improving their resilience. But these interventions require time that overtime schedules eliminate. Let me share case studies that illustrate the human cost. Factory workers unable to use their hands from repetitive strain, losing the ability to do basic daily tasks like buttoning shirts or holding utensils. Warehouse workers with permanent back damage, living with chronic pain that limits every aspect of their lives. Healthcare workers with destroyed joints from years of lifting patients, forced into disability in their 40s or 50s. The economic injustice here is profound. Workers' bodies break down creating profit for employers, then they're discarded when too injured to continue working. The employer captured years of productivity. The worker is left with permanent disability, often fighting for workers' compensation that doesn't adequately replace lost earning capacity or compensate for reduced quality of life. These invisible injuries don't generate the same attention as dramatic accidents, but they're devastatingly real. Chronic pain, lost function, inability to work, and financial hardship are the consequences. The warning is that repetitive strain injuries are insidious. You don't notice the damage accumulating until it's too late to prevent permanent harm. The positive message is that these injuries are largely preventable with proper ergonomics, adequate rest, and reasonable work hours. The negative reality is that economic pressure pushes workers into patterns that guarantee eventual injury.